right, so let's go ahead and get started. Today's webinar is on the Second Step Social Emotional Learning and Bullying Prevention Unit, and I'm really grateful that you have all taken the time out of your busy schedules to be here with me today for this webinar and to learn more about how you can help your students feel safe and welcome at school. We're going to be taking about 45 minutes today to discuss how social emotional learning is the foundation for bullying prevention and what that looks like with the Second Step program and how you can use this program to provide the foundation for positive relationships and assertiveness skills in the K-5 classroom. We're going to go over some staff training, the student lessons and family materials that are available, and I'll show you how the Second Step Bullying Prevention Unit builds on the skills taught within the Second Step program to develop a healthy school environment that is safe and welcoming for all learners. So here's our agenda for today. If you have any questions that come up along the way, as I mentioned, feel free to type them in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen, and I'll get to those as I can as they come through. And if I don't get to it in the moment, I will definitely make sure to circle back at the end and make sure all your questions are answered today. So let's go ahead and get started. Just to introduce myself, my name is Magella McNeese and I'm on the client relations team here at Committee for Children. And before we start talking about social emotional learning and Second Step, I would like to share more about our organisation. So Committee for Children is a non-profit organisation with a mission to foster the safety and well-being of children through social emotional learning and development. We were chartered in 1979 to help victims of child sexual abuse, and since then we've championed the cause of advancing the safety and well-being of children through advocacy, leadership in the field, and our well-known social emotional learning and child safety programs. We advocate at both the state and federal level for policies and laws that support social emotional learning in schools, as well as prevent bullying and protect children. We are really thinking of ourselves as pioneers, leading the field with our uniquely comprehensive approach and connecting experts who share experiences and research to work toward continual improvement. Our social emotional learning programs address a critical need in schools, and they're widely adopted, they're easy to use, engaging, and most importantly, based in rigorous research. And for this effectiveness, we're genuinely thankful for the thousands of educators, including yourselves, who successfully implement and use our programs. Today, our programs reach more than 14 million children each year in over 70 countries worldwide. And from our headquarters here in Seattle, we partner with researchers, publishers, and nonprofits around the world, and we work tirelessly to make sure all children have a chance to thrive. Our aim is to lift up children today so they're able to create a safe and positive society for the future. We've become internationally recognized experts in social emotional learning by ensuring that all our programs are based in rigorous research, as I mentioned. Our own research, in addition to independent studies, consistently shows that our programs improve safety skills, increase positive social behavior, reduce bullying, and decrease classroom disruptions. So with Second Step, educators give early learning through grade 8 students the tools they need to excel in the classroom and beyond. Second Step really offers a combination of the Second Step SEL program, Bullying Prevention Unit, and Child Protection Unit. Together, these programs help improve behavior, build a positive school environment, and address safety, all while creating lasting results for children and communities. Embraced by teachers, parents, and children around the world, Mind Yeti is another one of our products, and it helps kids and adults get their minds ready, whether it's time to calm down, or to focus, or to go to sleep. Mind Yeti can help settle the hubbub at home and at school. So I encourage you to check that out if you have a moment today. Go to mindyeti.com. So let's dive into a little bit of the history of Committee for Children. Some of you may be familiar with our journey, but for those who aren't, I'll quickly just recap where we've come from. As I mentioned earlier, we first began our work in studying the effects of child abuse and child sexual abuse, and we developed our program talking about touching in order to teach skills to children to be able to protect themselves. And once we launched that program to help kids who were already victims or to stop them from becoming victims by teaching personal safety skills and providing teacher training, we really wanted to look at how to actually prevent children from growing up to be abusers themselves. And much of the research that we looked at about people who are violent or abusive points to a lack of social emotional competence like empathy, managing emotions, and being able to solve problems, as well as self-regulation. And so we wanted to take our work a second step closer to primary prevention over the long term. So our first step was to help what was happening to kids now, and our second step was to help prevent it from happening in the future. So after talking about touching and second step were created and revised over the years, we also wanted to pinpoint and teach skills that would help kids as they faced a different type of abuse that often happens in schools, and that is bullying. So Steps to Respect was created to help address bullying by teaching skills to students and providing resources for staff and emphasizing positive school culture. So as we revised and created the newest edition of Second Step that came out in 2011, we decided that many schools would like and were already trying to address all three issues, which brings us to the Second Step suite: social emotional learning, bullying prevention, and child protection. So today we're going to take a look at how bullying prevention really starts with social emotional learning. And I'd like to start off by playing a video for you.
Bullying does definitely harm kids that are victimized by this behavior, and it harms them because they have negative consequences that come from this. So they have several issues with behavioral problems, some academic issues, and they also have negative consequences that are long-term that can actually follow them into adulthood, like depression and substance abuse. What may be surprising to some people is that it actually also harms those children that are doing the actual bullying. And so, like victims of bullying, they have similar consequences, such as, again, behavioral problems, doing poorly academically, and like victims of bullying, they also have long-term consequences that may go into adulthood as well. Another group that may be affected by bullying behavior are those kids that are bystanders. And this is actually the largest group of students that might be affected by bullying because it oftentimes happens in really social forums and social arenas. And so you have a lot of kids who are bystanders that are actually observing this behavior. And again, it can affect them negatively. And they may also have issues with behavioral problems and substance use as well.
Thanks for watching that. So hopefully that provided you with a clear understanding of why bullying prevention is so important and how it affects the whole scope of those involved, whether it be the victims of bullying, the children who are doing the bullying, or the bystanders who are witnessing what's going on. And we know that many schools recognize the need to address bullying. They've developed and put into place policies and procedures that outline actions to take against it and have trained their staff in how to respond effectively to reports of bullying. These efforts are at the adult level are really important and necessary in setting the groundwork for promoting a safe and positive climate for students. However, more needs to be done to affect change in students' behaviours. So focusing on student behaviour not only affects healthy development of the individual, but it will also contribute to an overall positive school environment. And research is clear that the best approach to bullying prevention is a comprehensive effort that addresses factors at the school, staff, and child level. So, as I mentioned, many schools already have in place training and policies and procedures to prevent bullying, but to take it a step further, it's vital that students are equipped with a strong foundation of social emotional skills, as well as specific bullying prevention skills. And of course, wherever possible, we really want to engage families in the work that is happening within the school so that they can help support the development of these skills outside of the classroom. So one resource I would like to share with you is the Thought Leader on SEL, the Collaborative for Academic, Social and Emotional Learning, otherwise known as CASEL. They're really a wonderful resource, and I encourage you to go and check out their website at casel.org if you haven't already, and just take a look at the variety of great resources that they have available around SEL. Their work is to advance the science of SEL and to help schools and districts expand their effective practices as well as improve policies. And they've created the CASEL guide that helps schools to choose quality programs that fit their needs. And we are really proud to be one of the programs that CASEL has endorsed. So one of the important things that CASEL has done in the field is to help define what social emotional competence is and create a framework for programs to map their work. So you can see on the slide here the 5 core competencies as identified by CASEL. They are self-management, self-awareness, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. And when we think about these 5 skills, even just today, no matter where you live or what you do for a job, most likely you've used these skills already several times just today. And when you think about the people in your life that struggle with getting or keeping a job or forming positive relationships with friends or family, those who struggle in almost anything, it's most likely because they struggle in one or more of these areas rather than lacking a certain technical skill. So many of you here may be aware of this information, but often members of your community or staff or the school board may not be. So I include this here as a resource for you to share. And again, we will be giving out this presentation in the follow-up email. So stay tuned for that. You will get these slides so that you can, take this information and present it to whoever you need to as the champion for SEL and bullying prevention in your school. So this slide really highlights a study that was done in 2011 that was a meta-analysis that looked at 213 studies of school-based universal interventions for SEL. And this meta-analysis was a real landmark study because it put numbers to what many people in education felt was true. That is that kids do better in school if they are socially and emotionally supported, and that schools take an active role in helping them build those skills. So an 11% gain on academic achievement is significant, whether it's looking at your school as a whole or for an individual child who may really need the support to be their best academically. So this type of information can really help create buy-in and appetite for an SEL initiative in your district. So as I mentioned, please feel free to share this information, and there's more in-depth information on this research on our website as well. Social emotional learning, or SEL, has really been shown by research to have many benefits that help create safe and supportive learning environments. So these include things like making schools safer, improving academic achievement, fostering better relationships between staff and students and their peers, and increasing school connectedness. Implementing an SEL program is also a universal level of support recommended for creating a safe and supportive school environment, or a school in which all students feel safe and welcomed and supported, and where addressing things like trauma and its impact on learning on a school-wide basis is at the center of its educational mission. And with that, I'd like to play you another video.
I'm the sole administrator here at Franklin. Like a lot of elementary schools, our counselor is only half-time. So when it's something serious, when it's something over time, when we're really talking about bullying, I feel like it's my job to take on the incident and really figure out how I'm going to use my resources at the school to solve the problem.
It was mostly on the playground when they just wouldn't leave me alone. They just followed me around everywhere. Started yelling stuff at me, telling me that I didn't matter. I kind of brushed it off at first, but it just got to me. It felt like it was really true.
Claire reported some teasing, some name calling, but when I read further into her story, this had been something that had been going on for 2 years. When she would participate in class, they would make fun of her, giggle, tease, and basically just made her feel bad about herself. Not only did she not feel safe at school and didn't actually want to come to school, she was beginning to believe some of the things that the boys were saying. She was feeling stupid. She was feeling like maybe I shouldn't talk in class.
They just started saying it so much that you just started believing it.
And one of the big things for her was the fact that I just sat and listened. She just needed to be heard, and that alone made her feel safer at school and made her feel like she can come to school the next day.
A couple times a week, she called me into the office and talked to me about it. It made me feel like there was someone there for me that could help me.
She did check-ins with the teacher. She did quick check-ins with me. Sometimes I went into her classroom and did a check-in, and then that time started to stretch out into weeks and months. You have to have a relationship with students for them to feel safe and secure, and for them to be able to come and report these really emotional things to you. At the end of the year, she was hanging out in the classroom. She had better friends. She was participating. She was smiling. She was happy.
There are people that can help you, and you matter. People care about you.
So let's take a closer look at the Second Step Program and Bullying Prevention Unit and how they work together to develop a healthy school environment that's safe and welcoming for all learners, like we saw in the video. The Second Step SEL program is a universal classroom-based curriculum designed to increase students' school success and decrease problem behaviours by promoting social emotional competence and self-regulation. It teaches skills that strengthen students' ability to learn, to have empathy, to manage emotions, and solve problems. The program targets key risk and protective factors linked to a range of problem behaviours. And equipping students with the Second Step skills creates a safer, more respectful learning environment that promotes school success for all. So Second Step really teaches the foundational skills that kids need to resist bullying, and these include emotion management, problem solving, empathy, friendship building, and assertiveness. Diving into the units for the Second Step program, the first one is skills for learning, and this is where we teach children listening, focusing attention, following directions, and using self-talk, but also to differentiate between being aggressive, passive, and assertive responses. Empathy is the second unit in the Second Step program, and we know that victims of bullying and children who bully exhibit less empathetic awareness than prosocial children, and bystanders have an empathetic concern toward peers. When they do that, it makes them more likely to intervene. So those skills are taught within the empathy unit of the Second Step program. We also know that victims of bullying are more prone to bullying if they lack emotion management skills, and children who bully are more likely to bully if they lack emotion management skills. So the third unit in the program, the emotion management unit, teaches skills to students so that they can manage their emotions, they can calm down when they're feeling those strong emotions. And it deals with things like, accusations and disappointment, as well as test anxiety and other more academic related emotions as well. So I wanted to play another video for you here, which is an example of one of the strategies that we teach in the emotion management unit of the Second Step program.
Hi, I'm Brent. Just like you, I sometimes get mad, frustrated, or excited. And when that happens to me, I use belly breathing to help me calm down. This is how I do it. I put my hands on my belly. I pay attention to my breathing. I take a breath that makes my belly move out when I breathe in, and back in when I breathe out. I breathe in slowly through my nose and out through my mouth. It's like smelling some delicious hot soup, and then blowing on it to cool it down.
That is certainly my favorite video from the program there. So moving on, the problem solving unit is the fourth unit in the Second Step program. And this really gives a framework for problems to make the process less tense and less personal. We know that victims of bullying often lack effective social problem solving skills, and the children who bully also lack social awareness and empathy. And bystanders can really help stop bullying by properly assessing a problem and making it less tense and less personal using the skills taught within the problem-solving unit. So this just gives you an overview of how each of the areas of children who are taking on different roles, so the victim or the child who bullies or the bystander, and how they benefit from each of the skills taught within the Second Step program. So let's dive in deeper and see what is in the program itself. So the kindergarten through third grade classroom kits come with the physical materials that you see on this slide here. So that includes the lesson cards, posters, a teaching materials notebook, puppets. You can see Puppy and Snail there. They are available in kindergarten and grade 1 kits. It also comes with a song CD and video DVD, as well as access to online resources at secondstep.org. And the 4th and 5th grade classroom kits come in a binder that includes the lessons. It comes with posters, following through cards, unit cards and lesson cards, as well as a video DVD and access to other online resources also. The Bullying Prevention Unit notebooks are just an extra notebook with 5 extra lessons in them to support the skills that have been taught in the Second Step program. So you'll get the notebook, the posters, and the DVD in the Bullying Prevention Unit, just as you see on the screen here. So the lessons within the Bullying Prevention Unit include being safe and respectful, how to recognize bullying, how to report bullying, how to refuse bullying, and how to be a bystander who helps. And in the older grade levels, 4 and 5, there's really a strong emphasis on being an effective bystander. So what does it mean to teach the program successfully? Well, first of all, start with the training, and we recognize how important training is here, and so we build it into our programs. It is included in the purchase of the kits, and so with the Second Step SEL program, it is all online and available to you through secondstep.org, and it takes about 1 hour for the SEL training. And then the Bullying Prevention Unit is a little more comprehensive because of the mandated reporter and policies and procedures around it. So we provide a bit more of an in-depth look in the next slide here, but there are 3 modules, and each module takes about 1 hour each for that online training, which is again available on secondstep.org. We also provide you with ongoing support via phone and web-based meetings. We have a wonderful client support team who is ready to take your questions at any time or help you find something that maybe you can't find online. And speaking of online, we have a great online resource center at secondstep.org that has a really great range of implementation tools and resources to help you get the most out of the program. So as I mentioned, diving a little deeper into the bullying prevention training itself, there are 3 modules and it's completely role-based. So depending on your role within the school, you would take at least 1 of these modules, but possibly all 3, depending on your role. So module 1 is for principals and program coordinators. It takes about 45 to 60 minutes to complete, and it deals with policies and procedures for administrators. The second module is for all staff in the building, whether they be administrators or teachers or counselors or cafeteria workers or bus drivers or anyone who you can think of. It really takes about 75 to 90 minutes to complete, and it is really all about recognizing, responding, and reporting bullying for staff who, often develop those relationships with students and might be the person that student decides to report bullying behavior to. And so it's really important that all staff are on the same page in terms of how to take a report of bullying and how to deal with it effectively. So as I mentioned, some staff, depending on their role, will be trained in more than 1 module. And again, this training is available with the purchase of the program. It's available on secondstep.org. It's all online, interactive, and you can take it individually and can be completed as many times by as many people as needed. And so to give you a bit more of an overview of what the training is like, I just wanted to play another video for you. So I'll just go ahead and load that in for you.
Welcome to the Second Step Bullying Prevention Unit training.
Bullying prevention expert Mia Doses will lead you through the engaging, interactive training.
What makes this training really useful is rather than spending a lot of time telling you how bad bullying is, we're going to focus in on proactive and evidence-based actions that you can take in your school right away.
The training includes guidance from experts in the field of bullying prevention research, the legal field, and on-the-ground educators who are doing exceptional work in their schools.
Made her feel safer at school and made her feel like she can come to school the next day.
The training also features scenarios about students just like yours to help you practice important skills, such as identifying bullying and receiving bullying reports. When it's time to teach the Bullying Prevention Unit lessons, every adult in your school will be ready to recognize and respond effectively to bullying.
So we really recognize 4 areas of being able to implement the programs with Fidelity, and they are teaching all the lessons, providing daily practice opportunities, reinforcing the skills that have been taught, and engaging families. So let's dive in a little deeper to that. We provide scripted weekly lessons, so everything you need to teach comes within the kit. The lessons are fully scripted, explicit instruction. There's some lesson preparation tips with the lesson concepts and keywords and objectives, materials that are needed for the lessons, as well as some background information on why this lesson matters and some notes about the particular lesson. So each lesson begins with a warm-up, a story and discussion, moving on to skill practice and wrap up. So there's opportunity for skill practice within each lesson. And this is an example that you see on screen here is an example of a second step lesson for grade 3. And the bullying prevention unit lessons follow the same format to keep it consistent. This is a breakdown of the lessons that are provided in the Second Step program and the bullying prevention unit. So there are 22 to 25 lessons for Second Step, each ranging in length between 20 and 40 minutes, depending on the grade level. And there are an additional 5 lessons provided in the bullying prevention unit that are about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the grade level. Before we move on here, I wanted to play another video for you that gives you an example of something that is taught within the lessons for the bullying prevention unit.
The Bullying Prevention Unit teaches your students and staff research-based skills for recognizing, reporting, refusing, and responding to bullying.
And somebody, please raise your hand if you have an example of bullying that has to do with hurting someone's body or belongings. Kylia.
When someone push one's belonging off their cubbies.
Oh yes, when someone's pushing someone's belongings off their cubbies. And do you think it's something that happens once, or is it something that happens over and over?
Over and over.
Right, I agree. Do you guys agree? Pat your head if you agree.
So today we're going to be talking about how to report bullying to an adult. And so we have report here, and then we have this person, and she's looking. I need to report bullying. So she's reporting bullying to an adult. It's one of our 3 R's, and we learned about those 3 R's. What's the first one?
Recognize, report, refuse.
All right, so 3 of them: recognize, report, and refuse. Reporting to an adult who cares about you, listens, and will help you can help you stop bullying. If the first adult that you report to doesn't help, then you go to someone else. And if that person doesn't help, then you go to another person. But you always want to make sure that you are reporting when bullying happens, okay?
Today you're going to learn how to be assertive to refuse bullying when it happens to you or to someone else. Refuse means to not let something happen. You say no. You can also use a signal that means stop. You guys remember the signal that we came up with? Can you guys show me that? Nice job. And remember, we want to be really respectful when we use this signal, okay? So if you see somebody give you that signal, what would you do? Carmen, what do you think you would do?
You should stop it.
Okay. Anybody else have another idea of what you should do? Grace?
You can walk away.
You could walk away, okay?
So that just gives you a taste of some of the lessons within the bullying prevention unit. And then moving on to the daily practice, as I mentioned, each lesson provides a skill practice opportunity for the students, but it's really important to continue to provide those opportunities for skill practice throughout the week on non-lesson days. And so to assist you in that, we provide you with these following through cards that give you short 5 to 10 minute activities that will help reinforce the skills that have been taught in the lesson for that week, for the other 4 days of the week. So it might be playing a song from the unit. It might be, practicing the actual skill or applying it to a particular situation throughout the school day. Sometimes it's a reflective writing task. And so there are a great variety of opportunities and ideas for you to be able to provide those daily practice opportunities and look for those teachable moments throughout the day. And then reinforcing the skills, as I mentioned, you have those following through activities that are provided within the kit. There are also take-home activities, or home links as we call them, that really help engage families and provide students with opportunities to practice those skills at home, so outside of the classroom with their adult family member. There are reflective writing assessments. There are book lists for students and teachers and families, as well as curriculum connections. So ideas for you to incorporate these skills into other areas of the curriculum. So a couple more available resources that I wanted to highlight for you that we have available. Secondstep.org, as I mentioned earlier, is a wonderful resource that is full of implementation tools and resources and ideas for getting the most out of the program. We do provide CDs and DVDs with the kits, as I mentioned earlier, but we recognize that we want to make it as easy as possible for teachers to teach the program. And so we have also included the DVD and CD materials, so songs and videos from the program, onto secondstep.org, so you can access them and stream them through there rather than worrying about fiddling with your DVD player. So also online at secondstep.org, you will find video examples and classroom demonstrations of the lessons. There are Spanish translations, which I'll touch on a little more in detail in a moment. The training resources for staff are also on secondstep.org. A huge range of teaching and implementation tools, and a great variety of family resources and other tools to engage families on there as well. So one of the things that we've included with the bullying prevention unit, because we know that, individual online training might have a potential to slip through the cracks of a busy teacher's schedule. So the bullying prevention unit has a really exciting feature to help make sure staff are all trained. So when you purchase the bullying prevention unit, you'll have access to an administrator dashboard that gives each school's training administrator the ability to track who has completed the training. So the training administrator is often the principal or counselor, but it could be anyone who's designated to oversee the training for that school. And we really love this tool and have had a lot of really great feedback about it because it's really simple to use and very helpful for reporting purposes. So if you have additional staff who come on board later in the year, the administrator can really easily invite them to the training from the dashboard and get them on track with the training that everybody else has had within the school as well. So as I mentioned, it's really important to engage families in this area as well and kind of enlist them to help support the skills that are being taught in the program outside of the classroom at home. And so we have a variety of resources available for families on secondstep.org, and a family letter goes home with the program to inform parents about what is being taught within the program, but also to give them access to those resources on secondstep.org. Another tool that we have available is the Principal Toolkit. So this was born out of feedback from clients who really wanted a way for principals to be engaged in the day-to-day of the Second Step program. And so we provided this Principal Toolkit for K-5 administrators, and it includes morning announcements, school assembly scripts, staff meeting activities, conversation guides, and a range of materials online at secondstep.org as well. So that little spiral-bound tent card that you see on screen there is what we call the Talk It Over tool. And so on one side, students are seeing a smaller version of a poster from the program that they're familiar with from the classroom. And on the other side is a conversation guide that's really grounded in principles of restorative practices, so that the students are hearing the language of the Second Step program from the administrator during office referrals or, other kind of circumstances like that as well. So just to help with that cohesive language building of the Second Step program throughout the school. So as I mentioned, we do have Spanish translation materials available. So you can access some of these free online, and those that you can access online include lessons, the streaming media, family letters, home links, and the glossary. And for purchase, you can get the posters, the song CDs, and the video DVDs. So I wanted to finish off with one more video, and this kind of encapsulates what it's like to kind of infuse this program throughout a school and the effect that it has on that school. It's one school story. And so I wanted to share that with you, and then we'll definitely have time for questions and answers at the end. I know a few questions have popped up in the chat box, so I'll make sure to get to those after this video.
Here's what I like on your ABC form. She told you to move your desk, but you got mad and you left to go take a breath. So why did you go take a breath? Where'd you learn that from?
Second Step.
Second Step, that helps, doesn't it? So did it help you to pull yourself back together after that? Okay, I need you to try doing that before you start getting into the big trouble. Does that make sense?
We can't teach the child anything else unless if they have those social emotional skills in place. So as a school, as a community, we have to do that for our students so that they can be the best that they can be. They're going to be citizens, they're going to be out in the real world, and they can take these skills with them.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast and be the backlash.
Oh, good morning, Lakewood. These are your morning announcements. Make sure that you are brave today in choosing respectful and kind words when you are speaking with your peers. Every child needs social emotional learning. We can't just assume that children are learning those skills when they come to us, and even if they are, they can always use that extra practice in that area. Students, remember to use your second step in everyday situations, especially when you are experiencing strong emotions. It's okay to experience those strong emotions, but it's what you do with those strong emotions that is important.
When I started in District 300, we started Second Step in one of our elementary schools. And from there, the program spread very, very rapidly. I guess what amazed me was how quickly our teacher said, we need this program. We need to teach social emotional learning to our kids.
Today's lesson is on emotion management for strong emotions, brain and body.
Social emotional learning is huge for kids, especially in a school setting, because that's where their most interaction happens as a kid.
Anybody think of any of those emotions that might be hard to control and that would get us into trouble? Kevin?
Whenever you're mad, you could physically hurt someone else and not on purpose.
Very good.
It helps me calm down and become a better person because I have to be able to work together with people.
You get to learn a lot about how to react in problems, how to solve them, and how to feel for others.
People were saying that I liked you.
Second Step really breaks it down between the video and the lesson and giving them time to talk and practice so that it's not just an idea, but it brings that idea full circle.
When I came over to Lakewood, they were already set up to begin Second Step. At first, it wasn't so smooth because they were trying to fit it into their writing and their science classes. I think they were torn. They saw the benefit of having it, but they also didn't want to give up their time for their core classes. And then that's how we came up with the moving to the different schedule.
We have Second Step every week on Mondays.
We close down the building at the end of the day for 40 minutes.
One of our teachers is already there, and we have another teacher come.
Who aren't there. Huh?
Absolutely. So we paired the core teacher up with a PE teacher, a social worker, a counselor, an administrator. At that point, the whole building was involved.
It's fun to team teach. I really enjoy having another adult in the room that we can bounce ideas off each other.
I'm constantly amazed at the depth of perceptiveness of our students. When we have our Second Step discussions, they do such a good job with it.
Is gossip a problem at Lakewood? How many of you think it is? Raise your hand.
Teaching Second Step has been very enlightening to me and my coworker and the kids. Everybody's teaching it at the same time. Everybody's learning the vocabulary, and it really works.
As I would walk through the building, I could hear the teachers using the Second Step language within their lessons. They would talk about perspective, they would talk about empathy, they would talk about strong emotions, they would use problem-solving steps. I also heard the students using the language.
You can talk to any student, even the ones in the hallway that I don't teach, and they can all have that shared experience of learning Second Step and having those skills.
We use a lot in PE. How do you think that made that person feel? We use it a lot with sportsmanship.
It helps students act responsible in social settings. They take that not only here in PE in the classroom, but into real life skills.
If everybody learned the Second Step skills, the world would be a much better place. Second Step basically helps you through life physically and mentally.
So what I'm seeing is less office discipline referrals. I also feel that we've had a lot less physical aggression.
You see kids in the hallway being able to take their belly breaths and calm down and return right back to class instead of needing to go and spend time with the social worker and de-escalate.
When students come to see me in crisis, they already have a basic understanding of how to solve problems or how to calm themselves down.
I think the students enjoy being around each other, they enjoy socializing, and to really just appreciate each other.
Second Step teaches our kids, how do I have a conversation with others? How do I interact with a group? These are all skills our kids will need as they progress through their academic careers so that they're college and career ready.
It's well worth the time to put in the long run because you'll have those students come back and the first thing they're going to tell you is, I'm doing really well. And those are the stories you want to hear. So it does take time, but it's definitely worth putting in that time and effort to do.
So hopefully that gave you a good sense of what the Second Step program and bullying prevention unit are all about. We have a great team of client relations professionals who are here to support your plans for SEL and bullying prevention at your school and to help you develop an implementation plan. So please feel free to reach out. Our client support team is ready to answer any questions that you have along the way via the number on the screen there. You can also email them at support@secondstep.org. And I'm going to stick around for a couple of minutes to answer any questions that have come through. So if you need to go, I really want to say thank you, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with me today. And good luck with the coming school year. It's an exciting time. So I do have one question in the chat box that came through. It's, my school already uses Second Step curriculum. Is it possible for an administrator to invite me to have online access to resources and training? So if you are referring to the Second Step SEL program, you actually have access, or either way, the bullying prevention unit is the same. You actually have access through a code that is in the front of your notebook. So if you check the front of your teaching materials notebook, there is a 12-digit alphanumeric code that you can use to create an account on secondstep.org, and then that will give you access to all of the training and all of the resources online. So be sure to check the front of your teaching materials notebook for that. So another question's come through. What format did the school use for the once-a-week lesson implementation? So I believe you might be referring to the school in the video that we just watched. So they really set aside a time across the whole school in the master schedule that everybody, every classroom and every teacher was involved in a Second Step lesson. And so they set aside, I think, about 45 minutes once a week in order to do that. And bringing those teachers together, those, non-classroom teachers, perhaps the specialist teacher, the PE teacher, having all of those teachers involved in teaching the program really helped with getting the language school-wide. And so that when they were outside of their regular classroom and in other activities or other classes, the teachers, because they had been involved in teaching the program, really knew the language of the program and knew how to use that when interacting with students. So the message was constantly being reinforced throughout the interactions between staff and students throughout the school because everybody was involved in teaching the program. So I hope that answers that question. Great question. Thanks, Dana. Okay, so the question is, do the 22 lessons build upon one another each week? So, yes, they absolutely do. The lessons themselves are designed to be taught in the order that they appear because they do build on each other throughout the year. So we do recommend that you teach them in the order that they appear. You'll notice that the first unit is skills for learning, so it really builds on perhaps what they learnt the previous year in skills for learning in terms of being able to listen and focus their attention and develop those self-regulation skills. And so not only do they build on each other as you go through week by week, but the skills that are taught within each of the units build on the skills that was taught in that unit the previous year. And there is a definite research base as to being, the way that we encourage you to teach the lessons in the order that they appear because they do build on each other. Okay, another great question coming through. How much prep time does it take for the teachers to be prepared to teach the lessons? It's very minimal. We try and make it as an easy a lift for teachers as possible because we know your time is precious. I come from a teaching background and actually taught the program myself, and I didn't find I needed to spend more than 10 minutes preparing to teach the lesson. So all of the lesson planning notes are included in terms of, the lesson concepts, the key words, the objectives, and then all the materials are there for you as well. So it might be a matter of photocopying some handouts. You can have them printed all ahead of time throughout the year, for the year ahead if you want to make it even easier. And then reading through the lesson, because it is a scripted lesson, just becoming familiar with that, the language that is used in the lesson. And of course, as you become more seasoned in teaching the program, you will put your own voice to it. So if you don't follow it verbatim, but you have your own voice to it so that you can really, relate to the students in your class, then we definitely encourage that. Okay, another follow-up question to when I was talking about the code that you have in the teaching materials notebooks. So if a teacher before you had that notebook and used that code to create an account on secondstep.org, you can still use that code to create your own account on secondstep.org. So those codes have an unlimited usage because we know that there is often a changeover in teachers and we really want you to have access to all of the materials online. So as long as you are in possession of a kit, you have that code and you can use it to create an account on secondstep.org. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. Again, good luck with the coming school year. I'm really excited for you all and hope that it's a wonderful year ahead with your students. And if there is anything we can do along the way to help make it a wonderful year, please feel free to contact us through the information on your screen. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with me today. Thanks so much.